one piece of gum every 7 years. Okay, so we all know we live in a big simulation, right? Everything around us is computer generated, right? That there's one thing that isn't part of the simulation. That's gum. Gum is weird. You chew it. You could just chew forever. That's because gum comes from outside of the simulation. Gum is real. Okay, so you also know if you swallow gum, it stays in your system for 7 years. And every cell in your body changes every 7 years, right? And the 7-year itch, you change personalities every 7 years. That's because every 7 years they come from the outside and they take you away and put a whole new you in there, and they can change you any way they want. But if you swallow the gum, then they can't, because the gum locks you in place, because the gum is real. Gum is their weakness. Swallow one piece every 7 years. Any more than that, you might get a stomach ache, but one piece every...
Yeah, that was Ian's father. Ian, how much gum are you eating every single day or every single 7 years?
I think I swallowed like 2 or 3 in my early life. Does it compound? Does it give me like 3 years of gumness if I did it all at once? Or did I overload?
You have to do it once every 7 years, Ian. 3 when you're a child does not count.
What if I just like get it in my hair?
I don't think that works either.
That doesn't fight the simulation. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Radowski here of wearechange.org, joined by a plethora of amazingly talented individuals for yet another live show that we're going to be having here for the next 2 hours. So make sure to send all your friends and family members the URL of this broadcast, as of course we got some really crazy breaking news from the Middle East that we're going to be talking about. There's also a lot of other social news to talk about, specifically with the WHOIS out there. Lots of different topics that we're going to be discussing here on this independent media broadcast that you could actually participate in. And one quick and easy, simple way to do that is by going to, of course, mysuperchat.com. Mysuperchat.com is a website where we are able to get 3%, not 30% that YouTube does with Super Chats, but 3% goes to, of course, Streamlabs, where we get to talk to you guys one-on-one. No matter what your donation or Super Chat is, we, of course, will be addressing it. And more importantly, I'm very excited to announce, if you are a member of LukeUnfiltered.com, you now, as a member, get to call into the broadcast. We are going to be taking callers, live video callers in the moment, who will be able to speak to every single person here on this broadcast at the end when we are on rumble.com/wearechange with an exclusive broadcast over there. Also, if you want to send us any kind of articles or videos or pictures to react to, this is the best way to do it. You sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. It's very quick. It's very easy. It's very simple. You scroll down here. You could sign up for less than 50 cents a day, or you could sign up yearly and even save more money. And then when you sign up, you get emailed your login information. Once you have that login information, you get in, and the first post goes there and explains the larger Telegram chat that you will be a part of, a private Telegram chat where, of course, we will be talking to you directly and calling you, and you will be live on the show talking to us. We did this for the first time. We kind of troubleshooted it last time we were on with Ian, and it was incredible. It was really fun. We had 2 really great callers. They had some really good, concise questions. So to be a part of the conversation, you could either go to mysuperchat.com or sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. As of course, we are going to be doing this program for a while. I think we're going to be doing 3 of them at least a week. So expect a lot of very breaking news coverage. As of course, we just had the news come in today of some really damning, crazy information coming specifically from Omar. And we're going to be talking about that plus a lot more for the next duration, for the next 2 hours with Ian Crossland, a man that we have stolen from the Beanie Man, and we do not intend on giving him back anytime soon. Beanie Man, I'm sorry, he's ours. He likes it here a lot better, okay? He likes it here way better than he does in the Blair Witch Project that you film your studio stuff in, okay? Ian, how are you? And where can people find out more information about you? And Miami is right?
Miami is right. Miami's beautiful. Go here. If you have never been to Miami, you should visit. It's freaking phenomenal. I'm Ian Crossland, co-host of Timcast IRL. And apparently, We Are Change.
We Are
sometimes.
Change. He meant to say co-host of We Are Change here. So
I've been on the internet since 2006 making internet videos, so you can pretty much find my work anywhere at Ian Crossland. Look for it, and you'll find me.
And then, of course, we're joined by the very stable, the man that always shows up on time, Clint Russell of the Liberty Lockdown podcast, who has been consistent. And for Miami, that's saying a lot.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Look, the traffic is rough, Luke, and the freeway pass to get here has been shut down since we started the show. As soon as it opens back up, I'll be on time more often. Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown, co-host of Tower Gang, co-host of We Are Change podcast or Uncanceled podcast or whatever the hell we end up calling this thing ultimately. Thank you so much for having me once again.
Uncanceled's a pretty interesting name. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But we have a couple names. I think the person who's going to help us, we have a chat going for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. So if you have any names, the person that helps us decide the name, because I don't know, I just don't want to call it We Are Change. I don't want to call it any kind of cast. Uncancelable. I have a hard time pronouncing that with with English being the second language, but
it's a double negative.
Yeah.
So like sometimes you want to. What does uncancelable mean? Does it mean you're impervious? But that's also kind of a impervious is a double negative.
Kind of based to be. Yeah, look, I think Uncanceled is cool because we're going to have a lot of people come in studio to do the show that are super canceled and controversial. So I don't know, just the idea I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, the people that I have planned on like being a part of this broadcast, we will not be able to do the first portion on YouTube. So this is what we usually do. We usually do a portion on YouTube, then we go over to Rumble, our free speech safe space. But the guests that we're going to be booking, they won't be able to be here on YouTube. Also, on this note, we have a button pusher here officially with us. That button pusher is Stephanie. Stephanie, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. My name's Steph. You can find me on Instagram at Steph We Are Change.
And she's ready to push all of the buttons today. Let's go into this first story because I think it's really important because, the main title of the video that we're doing right now is breaking as we have this report from Mario Nafal, who said just in, Steph, try to go on the browser now. U.S. Central Command confirms U.S. casualties. 24 American soldiers were injured in attacks on American bases in Iraq and Syria last week. Source NBC News. Breaking. Another rocket attack on a U.S. base northeast of Syria near the Iraqi border and the Konkowo gas fields. The Islamic resistance in Iraq claims responsibility. Now, this is obviously big breaking news that will have significant ramifications that just broke right now as we are still waiting for official confirmation of this actual news that just broke a couple minutes ago. But this is something that has been building up for a very long time. If you look at the American foreign policy inside of the Middle East, it doesn't always have the best track record. It doesn't always do the right thing. And a lot of the times it finances and spurs up radical jihadists and Islamists that now we are fighting. As I think a LA Times article perfectly described the situation in the Middle East, describing how Pentagon-funded rebels were fighting CIA-funded rebels. And right now, especially with the conflict inside of Palestine and Israel, we're dealing with a highly escalated, precarious situation where there have been numerous attacks on Americans, as of course we also heard from U.S. Colonel Douglas McGregor, and he is now coming out and saying that U.S. Special Forces actually went into Gaza to try to rescue some hostages and, quote, were shot into pieces and took heavy losses. This is according to Douglas McGregor, who, of course, is connected to some of the military brass inside of this country. Again, that report has not been corroborated, has not been confirmed yet as well. There was other reports that the corporate media that were documenting how there was a specific missile attack from Yemen going against American naval vessels, specifically an American destroyer in the region, and with the Americans sending U.S. strike groups, with the Americans still guarding the oil fields in Syria that we are stealing natural resources and oil from that region. I think it's fair to say that this is a powder keg of a situation that at any moment, at any time, could blow up and be a very serious situation for everyone to be forced to deal with. As I just don't see an off-ramp when it comes to this situation. I don't see a situation where this kind of stops being as tense as it is. How do you guys see it, and what do you guys make of these initial reports that have not yet been confirmed, but obviously will have a big impact on American policy?
I don't believe any of the initial reports these days because if you quickly snap to spreading this information, it can inflame global tensions really quick, get missiles to fire, which can cause retaliatory strikes, and then find out that the story was wrong. So, like, I don't jump on these things normally. I'm open to talking about them. I got a couple thoughts. One is, I hear they want to destroy Hamas. Now, what does that mean? Hamas is like an idea. Hamas is like a piece of paper. You're like, am I in Hamas or am I not in Hamas? Well, did I sign the paperwork that says I am? And if you kill all these people, all their family members are going to be just as pissed as the people that were in Hamas. So, like, it's called blowback. When you go in and you murder someone's family, that person's going to probably remember and may form an organization that's much, much worse than what they think Hamas is right now.
I mean, I share your concerns. These are all of the lessons of the war on terror, is that if you go and you kill a terrorist, you end up with 4 or 5 more, because usually when you kill a terrorist, you end up killing 4 or 5 civilians, which their relatives then become totally radicalized and viciously so against you for taking their loved ones. This is human nature. This is the whole problem with dehumanizing your enemy, is that it allows for a calculus that is totally detached from reality. These are human beings.
Now, taking out Central Command is one thing, like that we fought the Nazis, but when you killed Hitler and all his buddies, Goebbels and all these guys, you pretty much ended the momentum of the movement. So if they want to end the momentum...
Well, they all joined NASA.
A lot of them did. They were taken in Operation Paperclip and used in the stuff they learned.
And Argentina, too.
So another problem that we're having is sending special forces in there, like that's going to be some sort of surgical precise strike. Hamas has been preparing for this invasion for a long time. I was reading that it's been 10 months. They've been setting up false flooring in buildings. They have booby traps. They've got... rifling holes. Now they have rubble they can hide behind. You don't even know where to shoot, where they're going to be within there. And everyone's wearing the same clothing. They're all dressed like civilians. So like they said, McGregor was saying, they send them in there. It's just a meat grinder. So what do? I mean, it is a rough situation from the offensive perspective.
But McGregor is reporting that American casualties have already happened inside of Gaza when it came to rescue operations. So again, we don't know that. But I think, Clint, what you're describing, I think Pat Buchanan definitely described it better. Almost 14 years ago, there's a viral video of him when he was on MSNBC explaining this exact situation that Ron Paul was also trying to explain to the rest of the world, and that is the concept of blowback. A concept that if you blow up a bunch of people, those people have relatives, they're going to be mad at you, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And this is why I think de-escalation and trying to stop a lot of these wars and a lot of these conflicts is really the only way out of this, while trying to hold some of the negative parties accountable for specifically arming and funding and then shaking up this beehive that the rest of the world has to deal with. As of course, global jihadism is a real threat. We saw what happened when it came to radical Islamists hitting Europe. We saw what happened when, of course, they affected also people inside of the United States. Some people say those are state-sponsored attacks. And in many ways, whether it was direct involvement or even indirect involvement when it comes to just throwing weapons inside of the Middle East, it's infuriating that my tax dollars are being thrown into a larger war where they're fighting against the other factions that my tax dollars financed as well. So I want to play this clip by Pat Buchanan because I think it's pretty important to understand when it comes to the larger context of what we're dealing with right now inside of the Middle East. I'm going to play this clip right now.
The Israelis have been hit for 6 months with these little rockets, which didn't kill anybody. It was outrageous, cruel, and stupid, and they triggered a blitzkrieg against the Palestinians in Gaza, which in my judgment is an Israeli concentration camp where 1.5 million people are locked up, cannot come out or go in. They've been controlling food, electricity, fuel, and the innocent people in Gaza are the ones suffering.
Concentration camp, Pat, doesn't that diminish the significance of the real concentration camps?
No, I'm not talking about a death camp. I'm talking about what the British had in concentration camps in South Africa and what the Spanish had in Cuba and what others have had, where they bring all these people, lock them in there, and treat them with great cruelty and a humanitarian disaster, despite what Zippy Livni says. Well, let me tell you. I tell you how you create people for Hamas. You kill 675 people, you wound and injure 3,000. What do you think the brothers and sisters, those 5 little girls that died, what are they going to be when they grow up? What are these people under this, treated like this? Look, why do you think the Palestinians...
You know and I know that Hamas's doctrine, we can talk about it right here,
I know their
is to
doctrine.
hide in schools, in mosques, to hide among the civilians and use civilians for shields. And you know it is a war crime to use civilians for shields. You should be criticizing those war crimes on the part of Hamas.
Look, Hamas any war crimes. I criticize their attacks with those rockets, stupid and cruel. But you sit here and tell me that the Israeli people or the Israeli nation have treated the Palestinian people with any kind of justice. Those towns hit by the rockets are former Palestinian towns.
Well,
Ashkelon, Ashdod,
well, speaking of
Sderot.
justice.
Well, it's been 14 years later, and a lot of those people have grown up. Now, this is in no way, shape, or form trying to excuse anything that Hamas did, as, of course, Hamas is a horrible terrorist organization that, of course, spurred on this entire conflict with a larger terrorist attack against civilians, which, of course, should be automatically called out here. And we only
Israelis
hope
have been
that
hit
those
with
who
for 6
perpetrated and hurt innocent people are, of course, held accountable. But when it comes to trying to understand this conflict, we have to see that this has been building for a very long time. There's a lot of back and forth here. There's a lot to this conflict that we're not getting when it comes to understanding it. And I think understanding it is crucial to, of course, doing our best to trying to stop it. As right now, no one really understands. A lot of people are emotional, and we're on the trajectory of prolonging it and only expanding it from here. That's my 2 cents on this matter. Ian, what do you think?
Well, I think understanding why there's conflict there is probably at least going to give you a sense of peace of mind that the British went over there and colonized the area after World War I. But what was it before that? It was the Ottoman Empire. Before that, what was it? I don't know. How far back do you want to go? Before Jews even existed, it was Assyrian. It was Canaan. Like, do we have to give the land back to the Assyrians now? Who's of Assyrian blood that really belong? And who's there before them? I don't know. So I don't like this. Like, who's here now? Now that's what we got to deal with. And how are they being treated? That's the most important thing to look at.
Well, they say possession's 9/10 of the law. That's kind of that old trite saying. But in this case, you have millions of people that believe that it is their homeland. You have I've been bombarded with responses by people saying there's no such thing as a Palestinian. I'm like, well, if there's a people that call themselves Palestinians, that's good enough for me. You know, like I'll appreciate your pronouns. You're a Palestinian. I'll give you that. And the reality is you have millions of people that are living there. They've been bombarded periodically their entire lives. They haven't had an election in 18 years. What do you expect them to do? And also they can't leave. They can't leave. They have 7 entrances and exits. They're all closed. There's 1 into Egypt. There's 6 more into Israel. They're all closed off. And now you have this bombing campaign with 1 million children that are trapped behind enemy lines. They didn't have any say. They didn't have any say at all. So I don't know what you expect them to do. And now Douglas McGregor comes out with Tucker Carlson last night, and he's saying, look, this is not a winnable war. If you go in there, even with the IDF, even with their advanced technology and everything else, he's like, it's a meat grinder. You're going to get shredded. And the truth is, you're going to end up killing innocents because there's no way, there is no military force on this planet that has the trigger discipline to actually wait to see every single thing that's popping out from every corner in this rubble. It's going to be extraordinarily challenging. You're asking for a miracle. It's not going to happen.
Now, I took the boys here and the button pusher here as well. I do tactical training where we kind of train for a lot of these scenarios and situations, and looking at this entire conflict, especially with the advancement of modern warfare, especially when it comes to drones, especially when it comes to tunnels, especially when it comes to urban areas, I cannot fathom any kind of rational human being who would be on the Israeli side saying, yeah, this is going to be a piece of cake. This is going to be easy. It is not. And I think the main reason that they stopped this kind of invasion of Gaza is because they fear a lot of life loss, not just for the civilians here, but also predominantly a lot of the Israeli forces. If you look at the Israeli military, it does not like losing its forces. It does not like losing its soldiers. And a lot of the times its offensives are stopped to make sure that they get to save as many soldiers as they can. Going into this region, especially with the drones, especially with the latest kind of involvement when it comes to all the weapons that were left in Afghanistan, especially when it comes to potential support from Iran and Russia here, when it comes to drone warfare, holy frickin' cow. I mean, you get a convoy in there, right? All you have to do is get a drone, get 2 drones with grenades inside of Gaza. You get the back convoy, you get the last car in that one, you get the front convoy. The convoy can't move anywhere, and then the Israeli soldiers are sitting ducks there in a very, very horrible situation that is not winnable because you lose a lot of Israeli soldiers. You lose a lot of innocent civilians. A lot of life loss happens specifically when it comes to the people who live in that region. you lose as well. So a lot of the news reports are talking about how it's weather that's stopping this invasion, or how it's the Biden administration that's stopping this invasion. I think the military experts are kind of looking at this situation saying, this is something that's not going to be very easy to win. Alex Jones had a very interesting perspective on this, and he talked about just totally getting rid of the area of civilians and doing Moab bombs in order to get rid of the tunnels there. Again, to see Alex Jones even talk about that specific issue, to see him go that far, is a little bit eye-opening, to say the least, when it comes to this entire conflict.
And one of the things I learned from the tactical training that we did last week is what you were saying, Clint, about trigger discipline. So when we did the real action, it was we had airsoft, and it was like the bad guys have rifles, the good guys have pistols. So I'm running around looking, and I see someone, and I take a split second to think, does he have a rifle or a pistol? Pop, 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 I get hit. There's no time to think in combat. You have to react. And so when something moves, you kill it. I'm not saying that's always what people do, but in Vietnam, that's what they would do. There's a noise in the bush. Everyone lights it up. They don't even know what it is, but you light it up because you don't want it to shoot first.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, I mean, it's war. It's kill or be killed. So you're asking for too much. And the truth is, because you've bombed and just flattened so many apartment complexes, or you have half-standing apartment complexes, you've just created 1,000 or 10,000 sniper nests. On top of that, you have the drone technology, which has been advanced, particularly because of the war in Ukraine. All of these kind of insurgency technologies have increased and improved a lot over the past couple decades. So I don't think that you can actually win a ground invasion, and that's what Douglas McGregor. I mean, he's a retired colonel. You like take his word seriously. Whether or not he's right or wrong, you ought to at least process that and consider: is this what you want to do? And then add on top of that if you actually go in there with a ground invasion with 1 million children caught up in the crossfire, Turkey, Syria, Iran, Lebanon. There's a whole bunch of brother nations in the Muslim world that are going to be looking at that very unkindly.
And Saudi Arabia, which this entire conflict stopped the larger peace talks and negotiations with Israel with. Very conveniently, as China also just brokered a peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran to end the proxy war in Yemen. So a lot of big developments. But that interview by Tucker Carlson, I didn't get to watch all of it. I watched small segments of it. I don't know if you guys saw it.
No, I did.
But it already has... You did? You saw the whole one?
I saw it.
It already has 6 million views on Twitter and stuff. Yeah, I just put that on there right there. No. You go in the browser. Yep. And then when we look at this video, the conversation wasn't just about the difficulties for the Israeli military here, but specifically how, quote, it looks like we're actually going to war with Iran. Are we ready for this? And that's a larger question that I think a lot of people should be asking themselves, because Iran is a major energy producer on the world stage. If the United States is geopolitically opposed against Russia and Iran at the same time, the biggest energy producers on the world stage, this signals a lot of economic trouble, not just because of the global conflict, but just as far as when it comes to sustainability, as far as when it comes to drawing the lines and alliances here. This is a major, huge deal that, in my opinion, is American foreign policy shooting itself in the foot and running operations and objectives that really are not winnable at all. And if you really do care about America and its interest and the future of the petrodollar, let's just say you're very nationalistic and you want this future to be bright, you're not going to do it with this American foreign policy that, of course, is only indebting this country, devaluing the purchasing power of this dollar, and creating foes out of your neighbors that we could be cooperating with, working with in a way to, of course, have peace, prosperity, and financial liberty with all of us, to be able to actually achieve something greater than, blowing each other up. So to me, this whole conflict is just absolutely ridiculous. I think there's the information released by Tucker Carlson and Colonel McGregor are absolutely critically important for everyone to understand. So if you haven't watched that video, I think I'm going to post it in the comment section for all the people watching on YouTube and Rumble right now, just so they could save it and then watch it right after this broadcast, because I think it's an important conversation to have here.
In addition to these other countries you were mentioning, Syria, Iran, I mean, the countries that would be very, they've already said, if you go into Gaza, there's going to be problems. Whatever that means, maybe they've said overtly that we're going to counterattack. I'm not sure. There's there's dissent within these countries, within France, within the United States. You see riots in cities, and I don't know how overblown the media is, but like it makes me think of the Bolshevik Revolution during World War I in Russia. Russia was on the side of the actually, I don't even remember what side they were on in that war. Were they serving with the British? Whatever happened, Russia was in World War I. It was not going well. The people were very unhappy. The Russians were very unhappy about being involved in that war. And then that set the stage for a revolution within the country. The Bolsheviks took over, Lenin and his party, the communists, and then they took the country out of the war. Russia was out of the war, and it completely unbalanced the situation. I could see that happening in the United States or in France. You think the United States is like, internal strife could be the end of this conflict, and that could cause a very horrible communist potentiality. So,
well, and also there's this framework that I find to be deeply flawed, that they're saying we're going to have to put out these carrier strike groups in the Mediterranean, and they're supposed to be preventative, right? They're supposed to be a deterrent. That's the word that they use. This is the same exact language that they've used as they've encircled all of China in defense of Taiwan. It's extraordinarily provocative. Now, you can say that those carrier strike groups being there is a deterrent to Iran or their proxies in further attacks against Israel. But I can equally, if not more so, argue that having those ships sitting there is putting America in the firing line and giving a casus belli for the military-industrial complex that would very much like to see us in this war hot. And I don't want to see that. So I think it's escalating things more than it's helping, and I don't understand why there's no discussion about this.
Yeah. There's another breaking news report describing how the Pentagon press secretary just confirmed, Steph, go on the browser, that U.S. bases were attacked 13 separate times this week by Iranian-backed proxies. So this is information coming from the U.S. Pentagon directly pinning 10 attacks, 13 separate times, some in Iraq, some in Syria, directly on Iranian forces here.
I don't believe it. I will not believe that at face value. I need proof. Just because the Pentagon tells me, I'm not going to believe it.
Agreed.
I'm not going to.
And also, why do we have bases in Syria and Iraq still?
Well, we're guarding the oil there for, so who's going to take the oil from Syria? Literally, Donald Trump even admitted, like, we're going to pull all troops out of Syria. And then the U.S. Pentagon, the U.S. press kind of lied to him, be like, we pulled them all out. And then he was like, we're going to also keep them by the oil there. So we're going to make sure that the oil there is ours, which is, it's called theft. You can't steal another country's resources. And what's happening in Syria, I think, is a larger kind of representation of what the American public does not understand. We have military troops and forces all throughout that region. And in one country, we are not invited in there. We financed and propped up radical jihadists and Wahhabists in that region to go and overthrow the local government. That government was able to fight off those global jihadis that had Toyota trucks with American businesses on the side of them, and literally are now dealing with the situation where the U.S. troops are stationed in their country, taking their resources and oil away, which is crazy, which is mind-boggling. If let's just say Mexico came into Louisiana and set up an oil digging operation, and then they were like, this is our oil right now, the United States would be like, hell freaking no, it's not. And then we would, of course, launch military strikes, and there's already other presidential candidates saying, let's do special operations, military actions inside of Mexico. Again, crazy idea, especially when you look at again, you unwind a lot of this, it's your tax dollars paying for this chaos, which I think needs to be taken seriously.
And there was never any declaration of war against Syria. If you recall, actually, it was Barack Obama that went to Congress to try and get authorization for war in Syria, and the Congress couldn't get it because the American people said, we're done. Too much war. No, thank you. And this is actually, and for people that don't remember, it was because of a lie, an allegation that Assad had used sarin gas against his people. It was an outright fabrication. And this, I want to actually direct to our friend Tim Pool. He was grilling this poor kid on his show last night. Great episode, great interview. I enjoyed it a lot. But the kid was, pontificating on Charlie Kirk's thesis that, hey, it took 6 or 7 hours for the IDF to respond. What's up here? The kid did go too far, and he said, I'm going to go, I'm just going to say it outright. I believe that the IDF allowed this. I don't actually think that there's enough evidence to say that, but I think the reason that, Tim kept saying, why even open that door? Why question this? The reason you question it in the early stages of war, the fog of war period, is the same reason we needed to question whether or not Iraq was involved in 9/11. Or Afghanistan, for that matter, since it wasn't really them either. The Taliban weren't involved. It was al-Qaeda. And then the sarin gas attacks. We would have been at war with Syria if not for serious consideration about whether or not those things were legitimate. We have to question everything in the early stages. It's actually the most important time to do that.
And then, of course, there's the events in New York City in 2001, which we can't question here on this particular broadcast, that we probably will be having a bigger conversation on Rumble in just about 30 minutes from now, when we're going to switch over, because I know Ian has a lot of experiences being there. I have a lot of experiences being there as well. So I want to talk about that in just a little bit, but I think it's important. I think what Charlie Kirk brought up when it came to questioning the response from the IDF here, I think he made some really good concrete points that do need to be looked into. There's a lot of circumstances and coincidences. It doesn't automatically make them right. It doesn't mean Charlie Kirk is automatically correct or this young man was correct. I didn't see the actual Timcast IRL show, but I saw the kid's reaction, and the kid was kind of responding to a lot of the criticism that he was getting, but I don't think he's too far off when it comes to assessing this situation, which I think we need to take seriously. If you want to prevent another major attack like happened in Israel by Hamas, you need to find out what failed, what happened. How did one of the most secure, locked down areas be penetrated, and then there was 6 hours that it took them to respond? We need to understand what actually happened here to make sure that it never happens again. And those who failed us need to be held responsible for that larger failure. And unless we hold them responsible, those events will repeat and happen again. And it's just common sense that you should be like, yeah, let's just investigate this. Let's just look into this. Let's find out why the response was so slow. And again, the way that this operation was also conducted, it is plausible that they did catch them off guard, especially when it comes to the use of drones, which Hamas was using. They went after a lot of their surveillance targets. They went after a lot of their hardened targets. They broke down big portions of the walls. They were freaking parachuting into Israel. So it is plausible that this was a legitimate attack and not some kind of larger conspiracy or psyop as well. What do you think is possible? I'm going to run a poll right now on youtube.com/wearechange. And in that poll, I'm going to ask you, did the IDF know what was going on? And if you think they did, press yes. If you think they didn't and they were caught by surprise, press no. I just started that poll right now, and it will be very interesting to see what you guys think as audience members. As of course, I don't think it's controversial to ask these questions.
Yeah, a member in Rumble, Cars 10W, pointed out Preston made some, and the guest name is Preston Para for anyone that's wondering.
We'll stop calling him kid.
Yeah, the man himself, Preston.
So I didn't watch the episode, so I apologize.
It was my fault. It was my fault.
But what Cars is saying in the chat is that Preston made some great. He wasn't just questioning; he was asserting. I didn't see the episode, but once you cross the line and start asserting that they did it, that's a red line.
No,
You've got to.
I agree.
Did they do it? That's one thing. You can talk about 9/11. I don't know what happened, but if I start asserting things happened that I don't have evidence for, that's a dangerous realm.
Tim's pushback was totally fair in that regard. The issue I had was when he said, why even open that door? And it's like, well, the door is just logically open. 7 hours response for one of the most guarded borders on Earth, technologically and everything else. You have IDF. I think it was also an anniversary of some other major attack, like 50th anniversary or something crazy like that. You should have been on guard. There's no excuse for that. So if there's no excuse, I need an explanation. They go, oh, it was a holiday. I'm sorry, you don't just have your border security all go home because it's a holiday. There was something else that was going on. Maybe Hamas had an insider within the IDF. I don't know. Maybe it's that simple. But we need answers. And if you're going to allow or give the same organization that failed on border security the responsibility to then turn around and go flatten Gaza as a response, I want to make sure we know what happened first. That's all I'm saying.
I kind of feel like the response has succeeded. These Hamas agents go in there and kill, maim, torture, and take prisoner 1,000 people, roughly. Now, the Israelis have responded by leveling. I haven't even calculated the damage, how many people have died, how many buildings have been destroyed. Is that not enough to show, like, don't do that again?
Their thesis is that until they wipe out Hamas, then everyone that's responsible hasn't paid. I actually agree with that. But the sad thing is that the people that are dying right now, for the large extent, are not Hamas. There's thousands of innocent civilians that are dying as a consequence. And what does that create? It creates more Hamas members. So you're not going to solve this problem with wanton violence and indiscriminate killing. You have to be surgical with it. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard. We learned this through the war on terror. We killed so many innocent people and created so many more terrorists because of our stupid bombing practices in the early stages of that war that it made it completely unwinnable. And now we're just going to watch as our ally Israel does the exact same thing, and we're supposed to all bite our tongues because we're afraid of being accused of anti-Semitism or some bullshit. I'm not going to go along with it. The war on terror was a disaster. I'm sorry.
Family-friendly show here.
Sorry.
Clint,
Yeah, but everything you said was true.
It was bull hooey, right?
Bull hooey.
You know,
Bull
this
hooey.
whole bombing thing is new tech also. Like rocketry and airplanes that can drop bombs is like 80-year-old technology, 100-year-old. It's very new. It's very easy to misuse new technology. I don't want to see the Earth blow itself up on accident with this new stuff. It is indiscriminate. That's the problem with high explosives.
Well, the question is, if we're not going to, have a military action against Hamas, if we're not going to try to take them out, what is the solution here? How do we deal with radical Islamic jihadis that did commit terrorists?
I don't know, man. I'm desperate, but buy them off.
Yeah. So I understand our argument, but let's steel man this.
Yeah.
How do we stop Hamas from committing other terrorist attacks?
Give them a platform to speak. That's the first step. Let them vent. Let them vent to the world so that people know what their perspective. That'll lower their tension just a little bit.
That's actually our guest on next week's show. The head of Hamas will be here in Miami in studio.
That would be one of the most amazing shows on television.
But wouldn't
That
that
would be
be
pretty
kind
wild.
of like a rally cry? Like it would just be like giving them a platform to just rally it up. And I don't know about letting them speak. I mean,
Well,
is that really?
That's a valid argument.
If you let them speak, they'll be like, "Yes, let's all go." Family,
like, if it was
we're still on YouTube.
if it was like-
but I think it's fair to say, "Hey, we got a platform. Let's go all attack!" Attack!
Well, if it's like
Right?
Benjamin-
Why would you want that kind of
I would like to see a
messaging?
conversation between Benjamin Netanyahu and the head of Hamas on a video chat or in a moderated room.
I would like to see it be public, because the problem is that both sides have accused the other of double dealing. That, the Israel side claims that they've offered a two-state solution. It's been rejected by the Palestinian side time and time again. The Palestinians claim that there has never been a formal offer, that the 2000 negotiations under Arafat were bunk, that they actually never formalized any sort of proposal. So I don't know what the truth is. That's the whole problem. I'm putting kind of in the fog of war once again with trying to evaluate all this. But I think that in my opinion, the obvious answer is to not just bomb indiscriminately when you have 1 million kids. You have to take whatever steps necessary for the innocent civilians to flee before you decide to do whatever you're going to do. And as long as you have the border with Egypt closed and you have all of the borders into Israel closed, where do they go? So you're not giving them a plan B. I think that's square one. You have to give the innocent civilians an opportunity to get out of the firing line. If you do that, then you can make the argument, hey, we gave them a pathway out. They didn't take it. That means they're an enemy combatant. But they're not doing that. They're just saying, well, you have to go to the south of Gaza. We're going to bomb up north. And then as soon as we're done with the north and all of your property and every worldly possession is gone, then you can go back home and we'll start bombing on the south. It's like, these people are desperate. They're the poorest people on earth. They have over 50% unemployment. They have a complete blockade from Israel. They have no economy whatsoever. It's like, these people are just desperate. They're desperate human beings. And it drives me crazy that there's no sympathy for them because Hamas committed such an atrocious act. Now, for me to speak out on behalf of the innocent Palestinians, it sounds as if I'm sympathizing with Hamas. I'm not. I'm sympathizing with the children. For the love of God, can we just keep our humanity for a second?
I think, first of all, a lot of the hostages need to be released. I think the
Agreed.
troops that hurt innocent people need to be held responsible and need to face whether it's some kind of court-martial, court proceedings, or some kind of military tribunal, whatever it is, they have to be held responsible. Now, what does Israel give back in response to that is the larger question. Do they allow a second state? Do they say, hey, we're going to deal with these bad actors here. After we're done dealing with these bad actors, here's what we give you. I think That would be one possible step here, but I think we're far gone beyond that. I think with the way that things have been shaping up with Iran, I think with the emotions, I think with the psyops, I think with so much disinformation out there where it's even hard to verify the news as it happens, I think we are truly on a pathway towards a war with Iran, which would be disastrous, not advantageous for the American people, and just absolutely freaking ridiculous. I want to get to some of the super chats here. I think we could probably put the browser on and read some of the chats here that we have available to all one as of to everyone here. As of course, we got one by Drake Ibis, who gave us some emojis. Thank you so much, Drake. Based Joe is in the chat here saying, "I'm just here to give you guys some money. We appreciate the money, the support here to our independent organization." Wojtek Sledjak gave us another emoji there. I don't know exactly what that says. James Eatson is comparing Netanyahu to the leader of Germany during the 1930s. Again, family-friendly show here. We are still on YouTube, so we got to be careful with what we say. As of course, Netanyahu is in hot water, specifically with his son being in Miami, getting heavily criticized. As of course, there's a mass mobilization of everyone to go to join the Israeli military and to be ready to fight in Israel. And Netanyahu's son is hanging out and enjoying himself in beautiful Miami, just like Ian Crossland is as well.
Let's get him on the show.
Yeah, seriously, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Let's do it. Ian, you got this.
I have a chat here from Sepulchre in Hell. It says 9/11 was an inside.
Ian,
I don't know what that last word is,
Ian,
though.
you son of a. We're on YouTube. We are on
Was it
YouTube.
inside?
Ian,
I can't read the
Ian,
last
you-
word.
You're
I don't know what
about
he's
to
trying
be. You're
to
about
say.
to be evicted here.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Jeez Louise, we're on
Interesting comment.
we're on frickin' YouTube. Can you stop it? Ryan gave another super chat saying, "Can Ian tell us about the 51 state idea?
Yeah.
Has he fleshed it out? Have you fleshed it out?"
Well, not really. It's more of a desperate cry for Hail Mary, God, good of grace. Please give me something other than death and destruction. Like, if it's either going to get flattened into oblivion or maybe we can preserve the place, if it has to be Colin, I don't want to like force these people to bend the knee to the empire. But if they were to ask or request to become part of the United States with all the glory that is involved with being part of the United States, then I would be open to tending that. And then we'd have a state in that area of the world near Israel, which is an awesome country that we could be allied with, and near Egypt and near Iran. And we could, I mean, that's a diplomatic pie in the sky, I suppose.
It doesn't diminish the problem that you still have a population of people that are at odds with one another. I think it would be better if you're going to be that altruistic as to try and offer them into the union, which is a level of intervention that I would oppose anyways. But offering them some sort of migration plan or some, basically their own Israel, but somewhere not next to Israel, I think that would be kind of a middle
Where?
Territorial relevancy?
Madagascar? Like, what do we do here? Like,
I don't know.
How do you upend someone's whole entire like livelihood and like village and home that they lived in their entire life?
I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm saying if the alternative is that it's going to be flattened, I would like to offer these people somewhere else to go. I think if Egypt were to be offered X amount of dollars from either Israel or the United States to give a portion of their land, we're not talking about a huge amount of land. So someone has to negotiate. I don't know.
Land purchases are made. The Louisiana Purchase was a huge thing made by Thomas Jefferson, a big chunk of the North America. And it doesn't have to be statehood either. I'm not talking about that. It's just territorial impact, like Puerto Rico. We have areas that gain some benefit from being part of the Union in some way. But ultimately, it's
Puerto Rico, Palestine.
Yeah, exactly. It's East Palestine, West Palestine. West Palestine's best Palestine. Who knows? But it's more of a desperate concept than anything.
How many Palestinians are you going to be accepting into your home? And are you going to be housing in your dwelling?
Exactly. I don't want to repopulate these people. That's an ancient war tactic. When you take over a country, you uproot the civilians and you send them off to Siberia or something to go live in a remote location. They call it repopulation. I don't want to do that. That's my last. It's next to slaughtering them all is like a last resort. So I don't want to offer my house to these people. I want to improve their way of living.
Confirmed. Ian hates migrants. Now, let's continue on with some
Close
of
border Crossland.
Some of the super chats here. We got another one by Ryan saying, "We are IRL for show name." No, I hate that one. Bluebird K4 says, "Why can't you pump your own oil?" cut Middle East out. I know, right? But it does look like American oil production is pretty high. Very surprisingly. Sneaky 5 Slow says, do y'all think people who got kicked out of the military by admin or OT, what does that say there? Hold on. Steph, read that.
OTH discharge could get drafted if there was a draft. The military is desperate.
That'd be so evil if they kick these people out of the military and then as soon as World War III pops off, they force them back in. Oh, man, I hope not.
Probably everyone else is really obese, really out of shape, and not doing that well. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's absolutely probable that they will probably do something like this since they are very desperate for human beings and actual non-fat-assed, non-depressed, non-insane, woke idiots who, of course, wear flip-flops and blue armpit hair who are deranged and hate themselves to the point where they need to be on SSRIs. Okay, that might be the super soldier program in the United States. I know Russia has a different super soldier program. I know China has a different super soldier program. But in America, these autists, oh man, they don't survive any chance here. Steph, read the next one.
Okay, we have Scrotus Magotis saying, is World War III how they're going to cancel the election?
Sure looks like it. Scrotus Magotis. Great username, by the way, as of course, the election doesn't look that good for the establishment right now. It looks very good for turmoil and for it not to happen, especially with the situation that is shaping up in the Middle East that is absolutely disastrous for everybody. So I think you make a very good point there. And I think that's probable. What do you think, guys?
I think that the concept of World War III is kind of vague and silly. Like, we've been in a global war since we invaded the Middle East, whether we want to, the beginning of one. So, I mean, I hate to say this out loud, but we're already in World War. Like, it's already been happening for 20 years, and the United States was winning. We were just stomping and snapping everything, and then Russia started to join in when they wanted to take Crimea, and now the U.S. got involved over there.
But I think people should reframe this in their minds, because we're not talking about Iraq or Al Qaeda or the Taliban in Afghanistan. We're talking about the freaking Iranians. That's a serious military. Turkey, according to McGregor, says they could spin up over 2 million troops in a matter of weeks. Like, this is major warfare. Nothing compared to what we've gone through over the past 20 years.
And I'm not sure if you guys saw McGregor before on Tucker a few months ago, where he was talking about how the U.S. military is not really at the level of some of the other militaries, and that kind of spurred some conversation with some friends and family that I was speaking to. And I'm just curious, what you guys are thinking about this situation.
It's what Luke was just talking about. We have they continue to lower the standards, but then they kick out some of the fittest military members that we have because of mandates that they didn't want to go along with. So it's terrible. I mean, if you were trying to run a country into the ground, I don't know if you could do a better job.
Yeah, and this is what brings me to a point that I made earlier on in this broadcast, especially when you look at American foreign policy, especially if you look at the way that the establishment has been treating the American people. It's almost as if we are doing everything in our power to try to destroy this country from the inside. There has been a massive fifth generational warfare going on that has been waged against the American public. There are so many fats and fatties. There are so many depressed and crazy, insane human beings out there that are a byproduct of everything that they listened to, everything that they followed, everything that, of course, they participated in, that the establishment shoved down their throat. All right, we got to understand here, human consciousness right now, the quality of life right now for the American people is not good. There's so many obese people. There's so many fat people. I don't think it's an accident. I think it's a deliberate attack on the people of this country, as we are also being depopulated in very significant numbers, while other countries within the Middle East are actually growing when it comes to their local population as well. Ian, you had something to say?
Well, I saw a stat that said that, I don't know if it was 70% of the military was overweight. It was some gigantic number, and I don't know if it was true or not, but it was just a terrifying thing to see while I was scrolling through the news. And I just, for the first time, should I have had kids 20 years ago so that we have more soldiers? Because I don't like to think that way, but realistically, if a society doesn't have children, they will be taken over when they're all old.
I'm gonna go the opposite direction on this. We're not in any serious existential threat from an invader. What we're talking about is getting our asses kicked because we spread ourselves too thin and we go all over the world trying to police things that aren't our business. If we were to actually stay home, we have this incredible water barrier that keeps us safe. The Mexican military and the Canadian military aren't a threat to us. So, like, what are we talking about?
The Canadians keep saying sorry all the time.
Yeah.
They're just pathetic
I'm
soy
concerned
boys
with
up there.
an invasion into Alaska.
Producing syrup and stuff.
Like an invasion into Alaska. I mean, Canada's a lot of wild land. I don't know if you can bring tanks through Canada, but like an invasion into Alaska or into Mexico is like, dude, we don't even have a border wall. What's
Well,
Yeah.
What's wild to me is like if you're going to be behaving in such a stupid fashion as our government has been over the past 20 years, like you definitely can't have an open border. Okay, so like if you're going to be creating enemies all over the place, all over the world, you just have to close your borders, and we haven't done that. And it's like, all right, well then obviously you expect us to fall from within.
also
All right,
nuclear submarines.
let's go through the super chat stuff. Do you mind reading the next one, because we're gonna have to jump over to Rumble very soon.
Sure. We have Blades Dark saying, if the enemy is hiding behind innocent, what would you do?
Oh, in a real hardcore war scenario, if the enemy is using their own people as hostages, you have no choice but to take them all out, I believe.
What?
In a real fight and die situation, you have no choice.
I disagree with that. I think if if there's innocents, right, you should do everything in your power not to try to take out those innocent human beings. This is very similar to the death penalty kind of argument. A lot of people who are for the death penalty don't understand that a lot of people are convicted wrongly. And there's a famous saying by a famous founding father, Clint, you might need to help me out here, saying specifically if one person is freed. Tim mentions it all the time. You look like a makeshift Tim right now. Just say the line.
Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
Which
Ian
line?
Nuss.
Which line?
It was regarding Blackstone's formulation. It's better to let 10 guilty people go free than one innocent would
Thank you.
suffer.
Oh, yeah,
and then
yeah,
Ben
yeah.
took it to the next level, and there was 100. It's better to let 100 guilty people go free than for one innocent person.
Well,
to
that was
suffer.
the entire concept of our
That's my
jurisprudence.
that's my argument.
I'm not talking about releasing guilty people. I'm talking about fighting someone that's shooting at you. You can't just be like, I'm not going to shoot because you got a guy there. Sorry, I guess I lose.
That's still releasing guilty people and realizing. Well, I guess it's for your own survival, is why you're saying it's different.
Yes,
I understand that. Look, I've been hit with these hypotheticals over and over again. It's like, well, what if someone came in and they killed your family, and then they ran and they hid behind their family, and then they started to like throw rocks at you? Are you just going to let them throw rocks at you forever? It's like, no, I'm going to wait for them to go outside. I'm not going to blow up their house with all of their kids inside. That seems a little bit crazy. And I understand. I do understand the argument.
But
I'm
if
not
you're-
saying it's an easy
If you're
solution.
in one house shooting across a street at another house where they're shooting, and then they pull up like some kids, you can't stop shooting. Like you cannot. I've never joined the military, but that's what it seems like. Realistically, common sense would be like, you don't just stop because a kid walks up.
The problem is that people always frame it as if these are like Hamas is going and hiding behind their own children. It's actually worse than that. It's not Hamas's kids. These are just people that are totally innocent, just as innocent as the Israeli children that had nothing to do with any of this conflict.
And it's not just that. They have hostages. They have Israeli citizens that they took that they're going to be standing behind. Ian, if you're the IDF, right, and you have Israeli citizens that were kidnapped in front of Hamas, do you still kill and attack everyone then?
No, fortunately, they're in a situation where
But why
they're
does
not
that make
in
it
a
different?
firefight.
But no. Let's
they're
just say
pinned-
that this is the same
if they're
situation, right? Where you
pinned down-
said if there's someone innocent behind enemy lines, you got to take them all out, right? What if those innocent people are from the same kind of nationality? What if it's the hostages from Israel?
I mean, it's the hardest decision you'd ever have to make.
Do you
But
kill
if-
those innocent too because you
you're
really
in a
want to go after those bad people?
If you're in a firefight, I'm talking about if you're in the middle of a firefight.
No, but the question asked by Blades Dark is specifically, if the enemy is hiding behind innocents, what do you do?
It depends on where you are. If you're in Israel and you're safe and they have hostages, you don't need to go slaughter everyone. But if you're in a firefight with them and they pull hostages up in front, you can't just give up. Like, you can't just stop.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that rationale. It does make sense. It's a terrible conundrum to be put in, but I think that the more practical analysis or comparison to what we're dealing with now is exactly what you said prior. Is like, you don't have to go slaughter them. These people are literally already trapped in a prison anyway. So like, you can give them options, you can give them orders, you can negotiate, you can put in special ops forces, you can use surveillance, you can use all sorts of technology. That, not to mention, you've cut off all food, water, energy, everything else. So it's like you can just wait these people out to a large extent. So I just think that anytime that should be the very, very last resort, is to just indiscriminately bomb.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes from my study of Vietnam and what they were going through in the jungle. Like, kids would walk up with grenades and baskets and blow themselves up and kill a bunch of soldiers or blow their legs off.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where they're like, no more kids. A kid
Right.
walks out, he's a target.
Steph, you want to read the next super chat?
Okay. Okay, we have Fear Me, It's Bree. Love this trio. Awesome dynamic. Thank you.
And
We
then let's read
Thanks,
the
Bree.
next one.
Common Sense. Bardelou.
Thank you, Common Sense. That's actually the first ever super chat on YouTube. So thank you for Bardeludu.
Wait, that's the first ever?
First ever, yeah.
Canadian.
I mean, he was the first super chatter, and now he's super chatting again because I see like
This
6
is
super
no,
chats.
no. This is
first
their
timer.
first time ever super
Oh,
chatting.
Oh, got you.
nice.
That YouTube is showing.
Keep the
us.
money coming, Bartaloo.
Yeah.
Smothers 235 says, Ian, love you, bud. How come Tim kicked you out for questioning Israel?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That was a loaded question.
Ian was like, hey, I'm not going to bow down. I'm not going to worship the Israeli state. And then Tim kicked him out.
No.
And then we took him in, safe
No,
refuge
didn't
here.
happen. We arm wrestled.
And-
Refugee.
We arm wrestled, and neither of us could get to figure out who was stronger. So I was just like, I got to get out of here for a couple weeks.
Smothered
You guys are locked.
235.
Yeah, we're still locked
You're
in
hitting the
orbit.
truth here, too close to home. We got another one by Jimmy Cruz saying the war machine has no credibility, so we can't expect that they will have success in war. Thanks for fighting for peace. Yeah, Jimmy Cruz. I think that's an important aspect. I think we need more voices than ever to speak up when it comes to not trying to escalate the situation, not trying to blow more things up, not trying to create more of a blowback geopolitical situation that, of course, ends up on our doorstep, and now we're paying for the larger ramifications and problems that were created by sociopathic, neoconservative, bloodthirsty war hawks that don't give a damn about you or your country. It's that simple for me. I don't know about you guys. Ian, it might be complicated.
I was still thinking about the enemy combatant holding a hostage up in front of him, man. I'm disturbed. I'm sorry that
No, it's fine. I mean, that is a very tough position to be put in. I agree with Luke, obviously. I think that now, particularly when the drums of war are beating loudly, is when all of the shame tactics, like, oh, you side with Putin, oh, you side with Hamas. It's all nonsense. That's not what I'm advocating for at all. In fact, I have no love for either side of those conflicts. But I will point out the historical examples of how the state has deceived us into unnecessary, completely avoidable wars. I think that's just fact. So if I'm going to get called names for that, I don't care.
Jimmy Cruz has another super chat saying the war machine has no credibility, so we can't expect they'll have success. Oh, you already
said
read that
this
one.
one.
Hand of Mold 1 says, give Palestine part of the moon or Mars. Reality, they will still be unhappy no matter how much land you give them. That, of course, is a super chat from Hand of Mold 1.
Give me the moon. I want to get out of here.
You want to read the next one?
The next one says by Thomas Smith, Jews lived in Palestine for thousands of years. Why aren't we calling them Palestinians? Jews were removed from their homes and kicked out of Gaza by Israeli government.
Really? I didn't know that. Well, why aren't we calling them Assyrians? Because before the Jews, and I brought that up at the beginning of the show. It's just how far back do you want to go before you say that's their land? No, the land doesn't belong to anybody.
Well, I think that property rights do matter, but it's like current property claims have to take precedent over ancient ones. I think that's just reasonable because otherwise, how can you show chain of title?
I understand like modern sensibility and paperwork and stuff, but realistically, land belongs to no one. It's land.
But if you buy the land, you don't think you can buy land?
I mean, technically, legally, you can, but
Who owns the land?
Yeah, no one owns land. It's just land. It's just there. It's like, who owns the mountains? I don't know. No one. They're just there. We set up borders around it and say it's mine now, but like
You can buy a mountain.
until someone comes and takes it.
You can. You can
And
buy
an
a mountain.
island.
Yeah.
I'd buy a mountain.
Epstein famously bought one.
Another super
Rumble.
chat here, again, before we get canceled, by Justin Smiley, saying, with Iran's involvement, it appears that more surrounding Muslim countries will become involved. Is this a holy war instead of a world war? Justin Smiley, great question. According to Lindsey Graham, this is already a holy war with the way that he's been prophesizing it. And when you look at the Bible, when you look at the passages, especially with the Euphrates River drying up, especially with what Netanyahu and Elon Musk were talking about in a talk that they did together in New York a couple weeks ago. It does really highlight a lot of very kind of eye-opening revelations that truly are kind of connected the dots with. You guys have any comments on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything holy about war.
Succinct. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's anything, really principled, spiritually aligned about killing innocents. And war, by its very nature, is the killing of innocents. So that's why I'm so anti-war.
Or non-innocents. I mean, is it really? I don't think it's a holy act to. Well,
Steph, read the next one because we're over time already. We got to go through these. Steph, Ginger Jack here.
Ginger Jack says, "Show name idea blacklisted, written in yellow text on a black flag."
I kind of like it.
Interesting. Next one, Steph.
HGTH Productions says, talking about creating ethno-states. One particular tribe own a certain specific plot of land that is not compliant with the modern state of the world. These people need to evolve and care more about things, life than just land.
I don't even know which side he's talking about.
Let's do the next one, Steph.
Okay. We have Andres Calderon. He says, keep these episodes up, guys. Thank you.
you know
We
it.
will.
We shall.
Nort Cal gave another super chat here saying, do you want to try this one, Steph, or should I?
Oh, gosh.
I
Is this,
could
is
do
this
it.
your language, Luke?
Yes, it's my language.
Well, then you go.
No, I want to see you try this one.
Okay. Pozdrowienia z California. Is this California?
Yeah,
That's California.
Yeah. Pozdrowienia z California. So thank you so much. That means salutations or cheers, celebrations from California.
All right.
Very cool.
So shouts out to that.
My homeland.
All right, let's do the last one. Racist Roni says, did Tim really kick Ian out for Ian not taking a knee to Israel?
Yes.
If so, that is so messed up. I hope you two can reunite. Love, Ronnie. And probably, hey, it's probably true, right?
No,
right,
it's
Ian?
not true. Tim loves me. We will reunite and it will be grand.
He loves you. He just loves Israel a little bit more, man.
I love Israel. And that's why it makes me so sad that they're in conflict like
Me too,
this. It's
man. Me
terrifying.
No, we're joking. There's no drama there. We just caught Ian, and we're not letting him go. We're holding him as hostage. He is our hostage that we're keeping here. Doc Holliday gave us super chat saying, Luke, thank you for the Pastor Arthur Pawlowski interview. Yes, that's a really, really great interview that we just did. I'm going to link it, by the way, in the comment section for people on Rumble and on YouTube, just so you guys could watch it. Steph, read the other ones.
Oh, which one? Which one's next?
Read the one under this one right here.
Branch Out Music says, what company makes the beef jerky you eat on Timcast? What do you guys think of Mike Karnovich as speaker?
Mike Cernovich as a speaker. I like that idea.
thanks.
Mike Cernovich. Oh, yeah.
I think Carnivore Snacks is one of them with an X, maybe snacks. And I got to shout out Epic. Epic meat bars. I don't know. I eat this bison pork cranberry thing from Epic. Check it out. Don't buy them all out.
Is
I like to buy
it called Ian Pork Missile?
Okay, let's brand it.
Is it?
Let's
Let's
run with
make
it.
Ian Pork Missiles. Read the next one.
I like Cerno, by the way. Cerno for speaker. Let's
Very
He's been
smart
saying a
guy.
lot of good stuff lately.
We got Hecklebus saying Luke's chair reeks of TDS.
Okay, sure. That's
Thanks.
your
We
opinion.
got-
TDS? What? Ridiculous.
All right, we got Sugar Muffin.
Saying nothing.
Saying
Purple
nothing.
Pros
Thank you,
said
Sugar.
nothing. Purple Pros give another super chat saying, what about hostage Maya is exposing with the trial?
What's Maya?
I have no idea, Purple Pros. Sorry, we don't know what you are talking about. Doc Holliday, we read yours. Let's go after Plan Dean saying, I bet if the Grand Canyon were like 2 or 3 times bigger, they still wouldn't named it
bet.
that. Okay. Jess, read this one.
We have Jessica saying, enjoyed hearing your takes for ages, guys. Keep up the great work. We need it.
All right, read the next
you
two.
so much, Jessica.
Let's try to just
Apple
get...
Pits, Ian, would love to collaborate on a song with you. Best way to contact you?
Twitter. Hit me up.
Thomas Smith, read Zechariah chapter 12. Trump helped make Jerusalem the capital in 2017. Everything revolves around Jerusalem, the apple of God's eye.
Yerushalayim.
What? What does that mean? What are you saying?
Cornerstone of goodness or something?
Yeah, we talked about it last time. I don't know.
Let's read chapter 12 and find out.
All right, I'm sending over the links to that Pastor Pavlovsky interview. I think that's it for us on YouTube. We're going to continue the conversation on rumble.com/we are change. If you need to find it, let me show you guys how to find it right now. We're going to go to the browser. This is the live show. You click Rumble, right? And then you go down a little bit, and we are here, second in the chat, here, second in the pics. And you click here. That's how you join the conversation. A lot of people on YouTube, for some reason, don't like going over to Rumble. I don't know why. What the hell are you guys doing? Go over there. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple, and we get to have more of an unfiltered conversation without any of the censors, without any of the bullcrap, without any kind of blue-haired, flip-flop wearing yappy who's watching this on YouTube right now, just waiting for the freaking censorship button, which probably is already activated by Ian, talking about the event in 2001.
Something was an inside something.
Clint,
I don't know.
Ian, you son of a gun. I'm going to make you do more push-ups. By the way, Ian did not go to the gym today.
But I did do
and he
10
did not
diamond
do
push-ups.
a cold plunge. I am very disappointed. I will be calling out Ian on his personal dereliction of duty when it comes to personal well-being. We're also going to find out if Clint hypnotherapy was successful. We're going to learn about that. We're going to talk about this conversation in an unfiltered way right now on rumble.com/we are change. Another way that you guys could find us, you go to Rumble, you're on Rumble, right? You go up in here and you type in we are change, one word. And then, yeah, we don't have the video here. What the hell? For some reason, we got a whole bunch of imitations here, but the one with 54,000 followers is our channel. You click on it, boom, right here, breaking. U.S. soldiers under attack in the Middle East. We're going to continue that conversation right now. Everyone on YouTube, I don't know what the hell you're doing on YouTube. Get over to rumble.com/we are change. We will see you there. Before we end it here, really quickly, where can people find out more information about you? And by the way, on Rumble, we are going to be taking phone calls. So you got to sign up right now on lookUnfiltered.com. We send you the login. You get into the login, the first post, you will get to the members call in Telegram chat, and you guys will be able to call in very soon, and you guys will be a part of this broadcast calling in on rumble.com/we are change. Really quick, where can people find you guys?
Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown. My episode with Guy Swan is airing later tonight. You guys will love that. And then tomorrow night, I am on live with my boys, Tower Gang. You can search that show. And the guest is Owen Benjamin. It is going to be insane. Don't miss it.
And I'm Ian Crossland. You can follow me on the internet anywhere at Ian Crossland. Hit me up on X, where I do daily or weekly live spaces, and you can join in and call and talk and listen to scientists and naturalists and all sorts of wild, crazy, cool people. See you there.
And I'm Steph Change on Instagram. I'm the We Are Change button pusher. Happy to find me. Learn more there.
So we're going to be live probably 3 days.